It's the Formula One Focus, our weekly look at the world of Formula One. And of course, at the moment, we called it last time, it's cucumber time. So there's not a lot of news going around, but there are some big stories that have been floating around that's now coming to a head. Hendrik, welcome back.
Hi, Envy. Yeah, absolutely. As we said, cucumber time, and be careful of all kinds of stories that are making, especially social media in Formula One. One should be very, very careful of that. Just on that, I didn't warn you about this, but just on that, there was apparently a story. I didn't even see it, but apparently there was a story sometime last week that the BWT sponsorship at Alpine would be replaced by the online platform OnlyFans. Now, if you know anything about OnlyFans, I don't know because I'm not a subscriber, but I've read about it. It's basically a porn site that you have to subscribe to. And apparently it was widely reported, not that I saw. I actually didn't see it. I only saw something about it this morning. So that's just an example. It is not true. If you've seen that the story that OnlyFans are going to take over the title sponsorships from Alpine in the place of BWT, that's the water guys. That's not true. It is simply not true. So don't even take that seriously. That is exactly the kind of thing that we spoke about last week.
Yeah. Okay, that was a shocker. Sure. Almost. Let's leave it there. But like I said, the biggest stories, let's start with the first one. The Red Bull saga, you and I have been talking about it on and off during the year. You've been adamant that there's more to the story than meets the eye. The latest chapter has now sort of been finalized. Tell us, bring us up to date a bit, please.
Well, there was a statement from Red Bull GmbH. That's the mothership, the mother company of the Formula One team, declaring that after an appeal hearing was heard, the appeal against the initial exoneration of Christian Horner was dismissed, and that they now regard this issue as a closed issue and that it's not an issue anymore. Basically, just to recap, what happened was earlier this season, before the season actually started, there was a complaint lodged by a female employee at Red Bull against the team principal Chris Horner for inappropriate actions from him towards her. She complained about she laid an official complaint at Red Bull. That complaint was heard. It was dismissed by the what they call an independent investigator, a QC or a King's Counsel. And sorry, I'm getting some emails here. And she then appealed this, and this was heard apparently over the last few months by another independent investigator, also from within, or appointed by the Red Bull mothership. And now this appeal was dismissed, and as I said, the company now sees this as a closed matter. To me, that certainly is not a closed matter. I've spoken about this, as you said, quite often this year. Because just like in the original dismissal, in this case, again, there was no transparency and no reasons given for decisions taken. And the company is hiding behind this as it's a private matter, it's a human resources matter, and they respect the privacy of the parties concerned. But I mean, that is nonsense because it is wide open. It's a public matter. Everybody in Formula One and even probably beyond that knows about this matter, and now they've again sort of washed over the whole thing by basically saying that they dismissed it. No reasons given, no arguments explaining exactly why they came to the decision. One does keep the privacy in mind, the privacy matter in mind. But this is already not a private matter, and one would like to assume that somebody is innocent until proven guilty. But if you just dismiss the accusations without explaining why you dismiss them, and if you just in Christian Horner's case, if you just deny them and go and deny them in front of the investigator, but the investigator doesn't then explain how and why they accepted the denials. Let's just say, as an example, and I'm certainly not trying to make any case for either side, but let's just say, as an example, the women involved submitted some some WhatsApp messages or screen grabs of a WhatsApp conversation or more than one conversation. She submitted that. Let's just say, for argument's sake, that she submitted that as proof of her accusations. And let's just say originally and in the second case, in both cases, that was dismissed as not proof. Why was that dismissed? Could she not prove that they were original, that they originated from Christian Horner, from his phone? He denied that. Could he not then explain that it wasn't his phone, and that therefore these messages are fake? That sort of one would like to see exactly what the reasoning is and was behind these decisions. I'm not satisfied at all. I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. Mud tends to stick. It's not a good thing for both Red Bull or Christian Horner and his family, for that matter, for this whole thing to hang in the air. And just to say that it is now being closed as a matter, that is certainly not enough. I'm pretty sure that there are a number of journalists around the world that are very much interested in this whole situation and that have many more resources than either you or I, that they are pursuing this thing, and that they are going to be, they're going to scratch and they're going to find things, or they're going to report on things that they find. I'm pretty sure that we are still going to see some stuff coming out. If not, it is still a very unsatisfactory situation as far as I'm concerned. We have not had the final answer as far as I'm concerned. What is going to happen now? Well, clearly, depending on the resources that the woman has, she may follow up on further appeals on different forums or different venues, such non-Red Bull venues. There are international courts, labor courts, and things, institutions like that can be used. And of course the FIA. It was reported earlier this year that she had also laid a complaint, the same complaint against Christian Horner at the FIA. But that was never either confirmed or denied by the FIA. They also say this is a private matter. We're not going to confirm or deny that the complaint has been laid. To me, that means it was. But we haven't heard anything from that. There might be something coming out of that. Even I'm not even sure that they are investigating this. We don't know that. But I'm sure somebody is going to follow this up and try to find out what is going on there. So, a highly unsatisfactory situation as far as I'm concerned, which is not good for Red Bull, not good for Christian Horner, certainly not good for the women involved. And it has to be resolved in a far more satisfactory way as far as I'm concerned.
We talked about whether Red Bull is starting to come apart at the seams last week. We said Jonathan Wheatley's leaving, Adrian Newey is leaving. Persistent rumors that Max Verstappen might be on his way out, maybe not immediately, but not very far in the future. That kind of a thing. And one wonders whether there's a lot of internal strife at Red Bull, with Christian Horner and Max's father, for example, or even Helmut Marko for that matter, don't really get along all that well. In the past, where Marko and Horner sort of had a better relationship, that seems to have deteriorated. And like you said, it might not be the end of it. And the reason why this was leaked, for example, in the first place, that still remains a question. I'm not convinced either. Like you said, I think there's a lot of mileage to be had from this story still, and we'll see where it ends up. But this whole Verstappen thing, the fact that the news leaked in the Dutch press, firstly, it was sort of I almost smell a conspiracy. I don't want to call it that because I don't like talking about conspiracy theories, but there's definitely more to it than just, even if it was a straightforward case, there was a sexual harassment or whatever it might be, and it gets investigated and found to be not founded, or something was there. It doesn't matter. The point is, how did it get leaked in the first place? And that's the thing. Why did it get leaked? And that's what I'm interested in, that internal politics at Red Bull. And like I said, to me, I would, from the outside, say it's just another sign of this team really coming apart now, and it's actually quite sad. They're self-destructing at a time where they were on top of the world, and things just seem to be falling apart.
Yeah, I think self-destructing is putting it a bit strong at this point. It doesn't mean it's not going to happen, but I think they're not quite self-destructing. I think the pressure is on. And I think, the more, I think we made this point last week, the more the pressure is on track in terms of the competition, the more, the kind of divisions that are internal inside the team management could come out. I mean, Jos is certainly not somebody who's going to take it lying down if Max is not, regularly competitive, or if he thinks that the team is not pulling their weight, and the team is not doing everything they can for his little boy to win. So I'm sure that Jos is still, wait. The trouble is at this point, however, that he's got no alternative. Where is he going to take him? Either retire for Max, because or find another form of racing, which he has already anyway. Sim racing is a big thing in his life. He's got enough money; he doesn't have to earn money from that. He has said that he would like to try Le Mans one day. He could go to sports cars. So there are other avenues, but not in Formula One. I think as long as he's in Formula One, the team needs to perform and deliver. And if it doesn't happen, and let's say towards the end of the season, Max is under serious pressure of not winning the title, along with Red Bull possibly not winning the constructors title. It's all possible. There's still 10 races to go. Then the kind of pressure that the management would be under is likely to erupt again. I'm not going to say the team is going to self-destruct, but they are going to be under some serious pressure, and I'm sure that there will be some ructions towards the end of the season. All of this, of course, depending on what's going on track.
Yeah, what I mean by self-destruct is exactly that. They're not, things are not falling apart because of the pressure they're under on track. That's part of it. But what's happening behind the scenes is actually what's damaging the team, and that's what I'm saying. It's what's happening inside the team. That's what I mean by self-destruction. If you understand what I'm saying. The point I want to ask, or something I want to ask you, is the fact: don't you think Jos Verstappen has got too much power in this team? For example, I want to say this. I think one of the reasons why Carlos Sainz is not at Red Bull is because the fathers don't get along. Carlos Sainz Senior and Jos didn't get along way back when in Toro Rosso days, and that's part of the reason why I don't think one of the reasons I think Carlos is not in that team.
There are very few people who really get along with Jos, especially in the racing world. I can't claim that I know them personally. I can't claim that they are personal friends of mine. But what I have seen from even when Max was racing in the junior categories and in go-karting, they were not very popular because of the strong position that Jos, the father, has put in. And I mean that is really very unique. We've seen fathers play a role earlier. The Hamiltons had a situation where Anthony Hamilton played a big role in Lewis's early career in Formula One, especially, of course, much before Formula One. He played a major role. But at some point in Formula One, they actually decided, I think instigated by Lewis himself, saying, look, this is not working. I don't want my father as my manager anymore. I don't want him around anymore because of all the pressures and the stresses that entails. I would like him to be my father, not my manager. I don't want him to play an official role. And that is exactly, it took a few years for them to actually overcome that break between them. But Lewis and Anthony Hamilton did that. There are other fathers. Magnussen, Jan Magnussen is Kevin Magnussen's father. He's also in the Formula One scene, but very much in the background. So is Lando Norris's father. You often see him around, but he's not playing that bigger role. You mentioned the Sainzes. Yes, Carlos Senior is around quite often in the paddock when when a race is on, but he's not influencing the team and the decisions. Not that he can, I think, but he's not even trying to. He doesn't want to. And I don't think his son, Carlos, would like to have that either. So the Jos Verstappen situation is absolutely unique, and it's a big surprise to see that a Formula One team actually allows one of their drivers' father to play such a big role. I think it's a sign of just how important they regard Max. That they would really do anything that he wishes to keep him happy, and if that includes having his father playing a major role and sometimes a disruptive role in the team, then that's what they're willing to accept. Again, as we say, that is a potential very big fault line inside the team that can erupt at any point.
Yeah, the other person in this triangle of triangle of doom in Red Bull, if you want to call it that, is Jos and Christian Horner, and then of course Helmut Marko. And he's now just signed on for another couple of years, I think till the end of 2026. He's a divisive character if you've ever seen one, isn't it?
Yes, but I think he's a Dietrich Mateschitz appointment. He's the kind of guy that Dietrich Mateschitz, who is now dead, wanted to have there to sort of play the hard role, make the hard decisions, and not care about any fallout. Not he doesn't really care about the reputation or anything. He's the kind of person that would decide who becomes a junior driver, who becomes part of the Red Bull junior team, who is then elevated to the junior Formula One team and then the senior Formula One team, or who gets fired from any of those positions. So he plays the hard man role in that team, and he's not very popular. And I don't think in the media he's very popular either, because he's very blunt sometimes. Doesn't take nonsense from anybody. But that's Helmut Marko, and you can argue, it's not a bad thing for a team to have somebody in that role. I wonder whether that same role is going to be taken at Alpine by Flavio Briatore. It does seem, the indications are that he's going to start playing that sort of a role. It's as let's call it an advisor capacity. Both Helmut is just an advisor. He's got no other official role in that team or designation in that team. He's the motorsport advisor. And so it seems the same with Flavio. With Alpine now, some of the decisions are directly linked to him. The recent decisions, the management shakeup that they've had, possibly the decision to let go of Ocon and to retain Gasly. So that sort of thing. Yeah, I don't know what your question was, but yes, Helmut Marko does play that role.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned Alpine, and I've also been speculating, more me than you, that Alpine might end up being sold to Andretti. But that seems to be not happening. Well, you don't know, but it doesn't seem to be likely at the moment. And so that brings me to the subject of Andretti. They've now knocked on the door. They've asked nicely. They've asked politely. They filled in all the paperwork. Dotted all the T's, dotted all the I's, crossed all the T's, and yet they were still denied. So they took another option. They ran to the U.S. Congress and accused Formula One of being anti-competitive and the likes. Tell us about that. That seems to be an interesting development.
Well, yes, during the course of the year, Mario, the father figure of the team, the legendary Formula One, ex-Formula One world champion and multiple American champion, eventually went to the Congress, as you said, and had meetings with both members of both houses of the Congress, American Congress, and that led to a letter being written by the fiery Republican Jim Jordan, a fiery letter also to Formula One, asking why they are trying to block the opportunity for Cadillac. That, of course, is the tie-up that Andretti has as an engine supplier. Why are they blocking Cadillac from competing in Formula One? And this now seems to have escalated to an official investigation by the Department of Justice. And this was only announced or admitted to last week, towards the end of last week, by the senior Formula One, Liberty Media, rather, not Formula One, but Liberty Media people in a phone call to investors last week. So the first public admission that this investigation is ongoing. It doesn't say when they started with this, but apparently the subject of the investigation is exactly that. It's an antitrust investigation. It's done by the antitrust division of the Department of Justice. And they are investigating the issue of whether Liberty Media is being used by the European engine manufacturers in Formula One. That's Ferrari, Renault, and Mercedes. And Honda, well, it's not a European, but it's a non-American manufacturer. Are they blocking an American manufacturer, i.e. Cadillac, from competing in Formula One? And if they do, is this an antitrust matter? Is this anti-competitive? That seems to be the subject of the investigation. I am not privy to exactly how they're going to do it. Are they going to simply ask for submissions, the DOJ? Are they simply going to ask for submissions? Are they going to hold hearings with public? I don't know how they're going to go about doing it. The Liberty Media people seem to be confident that they think they're not under any danger of breaking the law. Because if you do break the law, there are some serious consequences for that. We've seen that in the past with major corporations like Microsoft and so on. So yeah, that's another interesting development. Whether that's good for Andretti, I'm not sure. Do you? They've invested so much. They have done so much to be informed. They've done. I mean, you and I think we agree, and I think most other non-biased observers would agree that A, it would be good to have an 11th team. B, it would be very good to have Andretti as that 11th B. And C, why, if they have done absolutely everything that no other prospective newcomer has ever done to become, part of Formula One, why is Formula One and actually Liberty, blocking them from coming in? Is it a good thing for Andretti that the American Justice Department is now involved? I'm not sure. And I think the question is, do you then really want to be involved in, if you are Andretti and you are so unwelcome, do you really want to be there? Well, I think Formula One is, to answer that question myself, Formula One is not a Sunday picnic. Formula One is not there for you to be friends with everybody. In fact, you're not supposed to be friends with everybody, especially if you're competitive. You are there for your own good, and that is why you are there. You are there to compete, and in the process, you want to make a lot of money. That is the current model. So that is why they want to be there. And I'm pretty sure that despite the fact that they are not going to be welcomed with open arms, if they are forced, if the door is forced open for them, they will go through. I'm pretty sure that will happen.
But the interesting thing for me is, I think, regardless of the fact that it might be frowned upon a bit, Andretti was quite clever here. And the reason I'm saying this, I had a discussion earlier this year when Liberty Media has now also bought MotoGP, or Dorna, that owns MotoGP. So they effectively now control both Formula One and MotoGP. So there's already question marks being floating around whether this is anti-competitive, that they control the biggest two motor racing formulas in the world, basically, apart from IndyCar. So maybe to be seen to be dominant or to be seen as competitive, there might be a little bit of pressure on Liberty maybe to, give in to this a little bit. I think they're a little bit exposed, and I think to me it's a bit of a clever tactic maybe from Andretti to approach from this angle.
Yeah, again, I don't know exactly what the specific law is that they are accused of, or that they are investigating, or possibly having broken that. I'm talking about Liberty. So I don't know exactly what that law stipulates. I don't know exactly how anybody will be found guilty, on what basis, in other words, they would be found guilty if they are guilty. And I don't know whether the MotoGP angle is relevant in this whole situation. As far as Andretti is concerned, it's probably not relevant. They are probably going to argue, look, the FIA, which is the world controlling body of the sport, and who only actually leases on a long-term basis the commercial rights to Liberty Media. Sorry, I used to work for Liberty Life, so that's a bit of a slip. But so Liberty Media. So if Andretti says the FIA has allowed us, and why Liberty, as just the commercial rights holder, not allowing us, that is anti-competitive. So I think that's going to be their argument. So we'll see how that works out. Hopefully it will all be concluded by the end of this year. I know they are aiming for 2026, that they are certainly not aiming for 2025, but they are still aiming for 2026, and they are putting all the building blocks together for a full onslaught, should they get the okay.
Well, we'll keep an eye on that, but thank heavens, next weekend we have racing starting again, starting with the Dutch Grand Prix at Zandvoort, something to look forward to, and we'll have a chat about that when the time is better next week. Time is closer, or it's closer, the race is closer. we'll have a discussion about that. Thanks, Hendrik. That was interesting.
Thanks a lot. Looking forward to that. Talk to you again.
Yes.